Well, good morning again, brothers and sisters of Grace Bible Chapel. Again, this morning we're going to take a look at the passage in Matthew chapter 11, one of the more familiar ones, where Jesus calls out to the crowd and says, "Come unto me." And let's just take a look at that verse. Verse 28 of chapter 11 says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Yesterday we looked at the idea that this is a call to come, that we can apply that both to salvation but also in our Christian walk, that Jesus is calling us to come to him, and he's calling us to come to him with something. And we see that in the second phrase that we're going to look at this morning. He says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, all who are burdened, all who toil." This can take on many meanings, can't it? And I think that's on purpose. I think there's a reason that Jesus doesn't get into specifics here, but he says, all you who are burdened, all you who are laboring. Because there's a lot of things that can burden us, isn't there? I think the one that maybe is most prevalent today, and maybe it always has been. It's the burden of identity. And we see this in what Jesus offers here, the rest that he offers, that oftentimes the burden that we all carry, the burden that is heaviest on us, is the burden of who we are, or how we identify ourselves, or what we take as our identity. And in so many ways there's a crisis of that these days with our young people, and not just our young people, but all of us. Back in if you were to go, even just 50, 60, 100 years ago, our identity was a lot more defined by the people around us, by the community around us. And even in Eastern cultures, this idea of the family and the group, and you take on that identity. If your father was a blacksmith, then likely you were going to be a blacksmith. There's not a lot of freedom in that, but there's security. There's security and identity in that. For us in North America, we're free. What your father did doesn't mean that's what you're going to do, or what your mother did doesn't mean that's what you're going to do. We have the freedom. All of our kids, my son now is choosing where he's going to go to university and what he's going to do, and the question of what am I going to do with the rest of my life. And I remember that being a burden and a stress when I was his age. And it's this idea of who am I going to be? And there's so many things out there that define us, so many things that the world would say, this is how you determine who you are. I remember when I was supply teaching at Ross Beatty in their kitchen. I was doing the home ec class, and there's this mural on the wall, and I wish I could remember it more specifically, but the thrust of it was this: there was a big question in the middle, and it had something to do with who am I? And I don't know if that was the exact question, but that was the thrust of the question. And all around it there's different phrases. I'm a hockey player, or a dancer, or an artist, or I'm kind, or and just the wall is covered with all these phrases of defining who we are. And I remember that sticking in my mind, because I think this is the big question, isn't it? This is the question our young people struggle with. This is the question that we often struggle with, of who we are. And Jesus is offering a rest from this, because it's even the burden of what do other people think that I am? Not just who we think we are, but also what does other people think about me? What do the neighbors think about me? And A.W. Tozer would talk about this as the burden of pretense. And that's a similar word to pretend. How we often put our best face forward. We put up the self that we want everybody else to see, because we think that's the version of us that they'll like. And we don't want them to get past that. And it's like an idol, the idol of self. That's how Tozer describes it. And we protect it and we defend it, and because if it gets brushed aside or knocked over, and it's this image of ourselves that we want other people to see, because we never want them to get in and see the real us, because we think if they knew me for who I really am, well, nobody would love me. And that's such a burden, isn't it? That's such a burden of trying to pretend to be something you're not. You're trying to pretend to be a good person, or trying to pretend to be what you think everyone else wants you to be. And so Jesus calls out to the crowd and he says, all you who labor and are burdened, whatever that burden may be, come to me. Come to me. Come to me with your burdens. Come to me with your pride. Come to me with your pretense. Come to me with your identity crisis. Come to me with your financial problems. Come to me with your relationship problems. All of the burdens that you carry, come. And what does he offer? He offers rest. And we're going to look at that tomorrow. We're going to look at what it is that Jesus offers, that rest for the soul that he offers. And also, what is our responsibility in that? Because it's not just something that he offers without any conditions. There's something that we have to do. And so we'll take a look at that tomorrow morning. And again, I just want to challenge you this morning, like I did yesterday morning. Bring your burdens to the Lord. Bring them to him. Show him. Talk to him. Be honest with him about what you're going through, about what you're struggling with. That's what the Lord wants from us. He is a loving Heavenly Father. And I think of as a father myself, that the thing the joy that it brings to my own heart when my kids come and they unload their burdens on me and they ask for help. That's when you feel like, man, that's what being a parent's all about, to be able to do that for your kids. And the Lord is like that for us. He's our Heavenly Father. He wants to carry those burdens for us as well. God bless, and have a good day.